Tommy DeVito performed like a competent quarterback, like he was back at Illinois throwing touchdown passes against Indiana. It was ridiculous. 31-19, upset city. As the Washington football team, an almost double-digit favorite, lose by 12 points. DeVito completed 18 passes for 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 9 times and still had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The better story is in the losing locker room, though, and reports circling all night here in the overnight as we keep track of these things that there is a coaching change pending, that Ron Rivera is about to exit. Now, he hadn't been fired as far as we know. At least we haven't seen it yet, if it has happened. These are the kind of things that normally happen at the crack of the sunrise. We're not quite there yet. So, anyway, Ron Rivera under siege. He is under siege. And it could be the second coach fired after Josh McDummy was let go by the Las Vegas football team. So let us discuss the question. You now own, through the powers invested in me, by the radio gods, you now own the Washington Commanders. Congratulations. We're in the twilight zone. You now own the Washington Commanders. You make the call. Do you fire Ron Rivera today, or do you keep him? And the kangaroo court will be activated here, the kangaroo court of Maller. I've got employee handbook, DeLorean, and rubber stamp. Employee handbook, DeLorean, and rubber stamp. And we'll tie all of these things together, and we're going to make an honest politician, which does not exist. They don't, by definition, politician and honest don't exist. And if you live in D.C., you know what I'm talking about. So, all right, so to kick off here, to answer the question, I'm now the commissioner of the NFL. I'm now the owner of the Washington football team and all that. And it's my decision. I've activated the kangaroo court of the Maller militia. And the only reasonable thing to do here is to get out a guillotine, a coaching guillotine, and bye-bye, see you later. Get out of here, right? Now, Rivera's coached a long time in the NFL. He was in Carolina for a number of years, and now he's in Washington, and people seem to like Ron Rivera. He's pretty smooth with the media, but this is a no-brainer. This is open and shut. The jury is in. We are surprised that he hasn't already been fired yet. We would have fired him right after the game. Said, hey, Ron, don't come back to work tomorrow. We're good. Because if you look at the employee handbook for every NFL team, but in this case, Washington, you look at that employee handbook for the Washington football team, he's already committed at least 2 fireable offenses. What has Ron Rivera done? All right, the first thing, he checks all the boxes there. Poor work performance. Look at his all-time record as coach in Washington. Poor work performance. The other one is insubordination. And that would be turning Tommy DeVito into a successful NFL quarterback. Doing the impossible. Not just a little bit better, light years better. And so that is what's known as disrespectful behavior, is what it is. It's disrespectful behavior. If you look at the body of work, the Commanders have lost 7 of their last 9 games. 7 of the last 9 games. They started the season 2-0, but they've lost 7 of the last 9. Washington has only been able to beat one team with a above 500 record. That was the Atlanta Falcons, who are now under 500. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? So we advise Ron Rivera to pick up the manila envelope with his name on it from HR, and there'll be further instructions on how to pick up his severance and where to leave his belongings and all of that. And it's just ready. It's just ready to be made here. Now, because you got a new owner, you get rid of Rivera, and you slide up Eric Bieniemy. Now, I don't know whether Bieniemy can be a head coach or not. Who knows? He's been passed over by every team in the NFL multiple times, it seems. But Eric Bieniemy, who was in Kansas City and now he's in Washington and all that, you can give him an opportunity for the final 6 weeks of the NFL season to be the interim head coach and see whether you like the guy or not. If not, you bring somebody else in, like Bill Belichick. But that's the move to make. That is the move to make if you're the Washington football team. You get rid of Ron Rivera. The Maller Kangaroo Court has voted. Now, Furthermore, we pivot to Detroit, and the Boo Birds were a-chirping. Is this the first time recently anyway, that Jared Goff has been serenaded with Boo Flat, the Lions quarterback, throwing 3 interceptions in this game, and then eventually was able to rally the Detroit football team past the woebegone, pathetic Chicago Bears, 31-26. The come-from-behind win as the bad news Bears go down on the losing side. Now, even in victory for the Lions, the quarterback play, shaky. So the question is, should the Lions be concerned with Jared Goff? Are we at the part of the story where there's legitimate concern for Jared Goff? And I am nodding my head yes. I admit that I have a little Jared Goff PTSD from his days with the Rams. And he played much better than I ever imagined with the Lions. But Detroit fancies themselves a heavyweight contender in the NFC. Now, whether that's true or not, that's up for debate. The Eagles currently are the number 1 team, but should the Eagles lose to the Kansas City football team, that'll shake things up a little bit. And you look around, and the Niners lost 3 games in a row, but they're back now. They've got their guys back, so their system quarterback's Mr. Perfect. You look around, it's like, but Jared Goff is regressing. I mean, he is. I mean, whether you like the guy or not, Jared Goff is regressing. And if you take a spin in the DeLorean from Back to the Future, you go into the DeLorean, this particular game, from what I saw of it, was a throwback. Because Jared Goff had 3 interceptions in this game. First time since he was a Ram in 2019. First time since he was a Ram in 2019. And he threw picks on the first 2 possessions. Now, the Jared Goff apologists will say, well, you know, the first interception was a tip pass, tight end, Sam Laporta. Is that really the fault of Jared Goff? But there were also a couple of interceptions the Bears defenders dropped that were just perfect interceptions. And so it continues a recent pattern the last month for Jared Goff of wobbly quarterback play. Now, what is my evidence? The last 4 weeks, Jared Goff has been averaging 6.4 yards per pass, which is not good, 7's average, and has as many touchdowns as he does interceptions, and a passer rating of below 82. Remember, 100's good. 80 below 82 is not good. That's not championship-level quarterback play from Jared Goff. It's not. Now, is this just merely a couple of bad games, or is this the return of the guy who we thought he was, and the reason the Rams traded him and multiple draft picks to get rid of him, to get Matthew Stafford so they could win a Super Bowl? And they got to find a way. Obviously, they got to bring him up to code. If you're the Lions, you got to bring him up to code, but you got to do better and be better. All right, parting shot. We head to down the road from the Great Smoky Mountains. Well, several miles down the road. The NFL's worst team. Who are they? That would be the Carolina Panthers, who were charbroiled by the Dallas Cowboys 33-10. The game was supposed to be a rout, and it lived up to the billing as the Panthers were getting a bunch of points. Now, I did take the Panthers, and I look like an idiot, but I thought the Cowboys going into Thanksgiving, week before, they're not as good on the road. And Dak Prescott didn't play particularly great. He didn't. A little dink and dunk Dak. A lot of that. Didn't average a bunch of yards. But in comparison, Bryce Young, the number 1 pick of the draft. He had his worst game yet. He's not getting better. 123 yards passing. 1, 2, 3. As easy as ABC. 1, 2, 3, 123 yards passing, sacked the season high 7 times. No pocket awareness for Bryce Young, no internal clock, none of that. And so how do you digest the latest stinky performance by the number 1 pick for the Panthers, Bryce Young? So this is what's known as a rubber stamp. A rubber stamp game. Now, what is a rubber stamp game? Bryce Young continues to rubber stamp, which means validate, that he should not have been the number 1 pick, and the Panthers got absolutely hornswoggled. They did. And I have not seen him look good in 1 game this season. I have not. And this continues. And he's not getting better. He's getting worse. He's getting worse. And this is a total boondoggle of a situation for the Panthers, who put all their chips into the Bryce Young basket, and he can't play. Like, he just sucks, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. If there is, it's a train oncoming, and you're tied to the tracks. That's what it is. I mean, here's a guy that should be selling concessions. Get your nachos. Get your nacho. Here we go. Hot nachos. Yeah. Peanuts. No. Pretzels. Soft pretzels. Salt, no salt. Soft pretzels. But, geez. Now, keep in mind, Frank Reich, the head coach, demoted himself a few weeks ago, gave the offensive coordinator play calling duties, came back as the play caller for this game. Now, that tells us that they're at the part of the story where they're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing if any of the spaghetti sticks. It's like, well, this isn't working, so let me try some other spaghetti. Let me bring back the old spaghetti. Maybe we'll try some fettuccine and see what sticks. Maybe we'll throw ravioli up there and see if that'll stick. I don't know.